Hello and welcome to an all new episode of Men and Women Talk, the Mars Venus Show. I am one of your hosts, Kente, all the way live from Los Angeles, California. And I'm so happy to be here with my wonderful, beautiful, talented co host, the one and only Shannon Ford, like the president, hyphen Jefferson, like the president. How you doing, Shannon?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing wonderful. I am I'm alive. I feel healthy. I feel like I can run 10 marathons.
10.
Yeah.
In a row?
Good for you.
You know what? If you had like those, remember those NES track and field, Matt, where I could do that.
Oh, yeah. I used to get tired. I used to be on my knees patting it like this.
Right. right. Yeah. So I feel really good. I feel strong as a bull. I think I feel great. There was a couple of times in the last couple of weeks where I had a little sniffle or something. I'm like, oh, wait, what's that? But I'm past that. I feel great. I feel great. I know I'm great. I've been taking care of myself and preventative stuff. Besides, the washing the hands, all that stuff. But a lot of vitamin C, black seed, mullein leaf, oh my god, sea moss, all of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have both during the quarantine anytime. What's up, Sam? Hey, Sam, you can come in to get vocal as well. There's I'm trying to curate people to hear if possible, but hey, I still can see you. I got multiple screens. So I feel great and I'm glad to be here. This is episode 152. The topic is going to be called dating a creative person. So that should be a good topic. Before I did that, I wanted to ask my residential religious expert, Dre. And you know what? I really want. I've been saying me and him should talk. I really want to do a show with a religious bent to it at some point with you, specifically you, because not like a churchy show where we're preaching, but just talk about different aspects of Christianity, as well as just being a good person, and that kind of stuff. And I did have a question for you. Okay, so let me do a scenario, right? First, let me ask you a question. How old were you when you were baptized originally?
So I was like, maybe I think I was like maybe 10, 11, but I didn't understand what was happening at the time, to be honest with you. It was one of those things when my mother was like, you're getting baptized. I was like, okay. But then when it was my choice, I was 17.
Okay. See, okay, so you all right, that's a good baseline to start off with. Let me ask Shannon, and then I'm gonna get into what I want to talk about.
Got you.
Shannon, how old were you when you got baptized?
I was 5.
5. Okay. All right. I was under 10 when I got baptized. It was like I kind of vaguely remember, right? Like I have been seeing people come up to the church, and then I would see the process. And I'm pretty sure I thought it was cool, right? And it seemed like it was like I never was like, my parents were never like, you need to do this or this is what you're supposed to do. But I felt it. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt it at a young age. Okay, so I was baptized, and you can tell me. And Sam says 7 or 8. Yes, I was baptized. Thank you. Okay, so a lot of us who grew up in the church, we get baptized at a very young age, and if you do it once, right, you're good, right?
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm gonna paint a picture. So you got baptized under 10. It was, maybe you didn't quite really understand what it meant. You stray away from the church, like a lot of us do. And you start living another.
Did he get stuck?
I was like, what's happening?
Yeah, he's stuck.
Oh man, we have to start the show all over.
Well,
so, Jerry, What'd you do today?
Well, I guess I'll stay on the theme about the baptism because this may come up. Like, you know, why did I get baptized a second time when I was already baptized? And I think to have anything done without why it's being done sort of voids out what's being done. So
Yeah.
I didn't count that baptism as my baptism because I didn't know what was happening. I was just being dunked in a very big tub. So I didn't know what was happening. I had no clue of the significance. The thing is, I always knew of a higher power. I always knew that there was a God out there. And I was, in a sense, not really raised in the church, but I would go to my godmother's church every now and then. At her church that my mother was baptized in. In my mother's mind, that meant that we were members of the church.
So
when I came to understand what baptism was really about, according to what the Bible says, that baptism wasn't an official baptism, at least as far as what it meant to be a believer in Christ. So that's why I had it. That's why I did it again for me.
No, I totally get
Can
that.
you guys hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You were stuck frozen.
My internet went out. Dang, is that like? Should I read something into it?
No, when I got baptized, my mom didn't think I should have. Like, I wanted to. I belonged to the children's church, so the adults were upstairs, we were downstairs, and I was always the child that they always thought I was too grown for my age, not fast, but just I knew too much. And so when I went home and was like, Mom, I'm going to be baptized, and started telling her what happened, she called the pastor and was like, no, she should not be. Like, she doesn't know what she's doing. She's only 5. But he assured her that he asked some legit questions about what I knew. It wasn't like he was asking me and other people were answering it. He was asking me alone. You know, did I believe that Jesus was my Lord and Savior? And, going through the standard process of asking these questions. And I answered the questions the way he would have expected for me to move forward, opposed to, oh, I don't think she's ready. And he was like, I've never met many 5-year-olds with that much conviction. She knew what she was doing and she answered it, for herself and not to prove or be approved by someone else. And so my mom let me do it. I didn't beg her or anything. I was just like, well, I mean, if you're not going to let me, I'll just keep going up every Sunday till you let me. I was that kid, so.
Got you?
All right. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't know. My internet just crapped out. Okay, so it seems like you guys are kind of going down the path I was going. But the question is, okay, you stray away from the church, but you were baptized as a youth, and then now you're back in the church. You become, full-fledged and all of that. Do you think that you should get rebaptized? Is that something you should do? Being that maybe the first go round, you may not have fully understood it.
So,
go ahead, Dre.
Yeah, for me, I don't know if it's like a mandated thing. It's not that you should do it.
Okay.
If you feel like you need to do it again, by all means. Now, I will say this, and I've had conversations with friends of mine, believers, about this, where they've been baptized more than one time. Like, for instance, I know believers have been baptized, and then when they go to Israel, they want to be baptized again in the Jordan River. If I go to Israel, I'm not trying to be baptized again in the Jordan River.
Right.
I don't need to. I've already been baptized. So, I don't want to, because at that point, it makes me feel like, okay, what happened before isn't as good as it happening in the Jordan River just because Jesus was baptized in the same place.
Right.
They're pretty much saying that those who worship in spirit and truth don't really worship in spirit and truth unless they worship in Samaria or in Jerusalem, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? So, that's you may not know what I'm saying. There's a scripture where Jesus was talking to the Samaritan woman, and he was telling her there's going to come a time, and now is, where true worshipers won't worship will worship in spirit and in truth. They won't worship in the mountain, and they won't worship in Jerusalem, but they worship wherever, God is. If I was baptized in a tub in St. Philip's Baptist Church, that same baptism means just as much as it would if I was baptized in the Jordan River. It has the same meaning, the same power. It represents the same thing. So being rebaptized is not a necessity. Now, like if you didn't know what was happening when you were like, 3, 4, or even 10, and you want to do it again because now you know what it means.
So St. Peter's not going to be like, dude, when you got baptized that first time, that wasn't legit.
Yeah, because that's just a representation of a choice you made in your heart. That's, people rededicate their lives. Now that's something people do. But that has nothing to do with whether or not, it's not like Dre said, it's not mandated that you have to be rebaptized.
Yeah. And I've had friends say, I've given my heart back to the Lord again, or I've come back to the Lord. I want to get baptized again. And I tell them, you don't need to.
Mm-hmm. Now, what if you were a Kojic and now you're Baptist? Does that transfer credits?
No. Yeah, it should.
I gotta be like you were Kojic baptized, so now you gotta do I gotta be Baptist.
It should transfer. It better transfer. If the church tells you it doesn't, then you need to find another church.
Oh, okay. All right. That's some real stuff though to think about. Like, as someone who may be rededicating themselves to their faith.
I'm sorry, hold on. Ryan is looking clean.
I know, yeah.
You got a fresh cut.
Yes. Well, it's called Bic. I'm just bicking it.
Okay.
I'm about to do the same, man, because my barber's like not trying to break any rules here. And
what's funny though? You know what's funny is like the NBA guys, right? You see them on Instagram and stuff, and you can tell the guys whose wives can cut hair versus the guys, like the guys who don't, their wives ain't about their life. They're all looking like, some caveman. And then you got those guys that's all fresh cut up. It's their wife. So marry a woman can cut hair. So if we're ever in this situation again, you're all good.
Absolutely.
But thank you, Dre. I definitely wanted to hit you up with that. But at some point though, I would like to do something where we can talk about these kind of things that people think about. So I've had these conversations with folks.
I'm with it.
All right, thank you, my brother.
My pleasure.
All right. So the topic tonight is dating a creative person. Now, me and you I would consider, and of course Ryan as well, who's here. We're all creative people, right? And creative people, I think people romanticize creative people. Creative people are mad though, myself included. Creative people, a lot of times you will always feel like a mistress because our art is really our number one. A lot of times, right? So it could be, hey, Danny's in the house. I need to chop it up with Danny.
What up, Danny?
But so then I've dated creative people, and I felt like the mister, or what would be the mister, right? I felt like that. It's not fun. So whatever it is, like for Shannon's thing is her writing, right? Her writing is number one. So her man has to figure out how she gonna fit in, how he's gonna have to fit into that, her number one love, right? So that's okay, right. But a lot of times though, us creative folks don't make the best mates. I guess you have to be a certain type. And then sometimes you think as a young creative person, I'll just date another creative person. And that's right. We'll understand each other, right? That doesn't work a lot of times, because it's almost like you're swingers, because you're dating your passion, right? Which is whatever your art is. she is too, or he is too. So it's almost like you guys are, can be like an afterthought sometimes. And so it's a lot of it's a lot of beauty, because a lot of times your creative mate or you or vice versa um can be very creative when it comes to how they show their love and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But then also there's the pitfalls of just being in a relationship where the person is, a creative person is always trying to create, always trying to make art, is trying to do this thing that doesn't always tie to money, right? How many people do a lot of these creative pursuits and they're not really getting paid for it, but they treat it like it's it's their job, right? They may have a hustle, number one, a hustle, but their real thing is that whatever their creative thing is.
Mm-hmm.
So Shannon, I've been wanting to do this show so much, and I'm glad Ryan's here too, because I know Ryan. I feel for whoever Ryan dates, past and present, because I know Ryan's a creative dude. He's always, them wheels are always turning. Like sometimes you'll have a conversation with Ryan, right? And I know this look because that I've seen that look. I've been around creative people my whole life, and then sometimes you're talking to Ryan, but Ryan's really creating the next thing, and he's kind of talking to you, but he's really.
Is that true?
An idea came in his head, and he's almost like, he kind of. I do it too. Where you kind of zone out for a minute, because then maybe that piece of that puzzle of that thing you want to make finally pops in your head, but now you're having a conversation about whatever the crap you're talking with somebody, and you almost want to just be like, you want to get away so you can, put it all together. So I know it, and it's a pain in the butt. So let me start off with you, Shannon. Okay, you've been a writer virtually your whole life, right?
Pretty much.
Okay. So when it comes to how much time you allocate to your pursuits, how do you value that versus like, wanting to, just live a regular life and do other things? How much do you put towards your creative pursuits?
I could be in the mood. I mean, I could just write to write, which I've done that my whole life, but I have to be in the mood. And because I work so much, I'm not often in the mood. So a lot of times I'm just writing out of obligation so that the craft doesn't grow stale.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's anything quote unquote normal about my life. I'm trying to live that abundant life. So I enjoy it all.
Mm-hmm.
The pursuit of others as well as my writing.
Okay. All right. I like it. Now, what about you? Now you're someone who's very, Ryan, you're someone who's very like, I don't want to say calculating because that sounds negative, but like, what's a better way to say calculating? Fuck it, calculating. But I mean, right? Like you put your ducks in a row, and all that kind of stuff, right? Before you don't just go willy-nilly.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that makes you hey, Crystal Johnson in the chat? Does that hurt you in relationships in the past, you think, sometimes?
That I'm calculated?
Yeah, I'm talking about your career and what your pursuits are, your creative pursuits. Efficient. Okay, I like that. Efficient.
I don't know. I like it. I was with a creative for 7 years. That was my child's mom. Now she is a company dancer for this company called Decidedly Jazz. So, I do know what it's like to be with another creative, but, when you're creative and you're being creative in a public space with an audience, there is spotlight hogging. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't say we were like fighting for a, for for the spotlight, it was that where do we allocate the resources? Whose life is more important? Is it the rapper or the dancer? Is it the graphic designer or the dancer? So we were going, when I look back in hindsight, we had a lot of issues just with what she had to do. And I had to kind of put my stuff aside, so her dance career, her dance career could thrive. So, and then I'm in a relationship now. And the one thing is that we had to write boundaries. We broke up, we got back together, and she sent me her boundaries. I wrote my boundaries, and I said, do not talk about my career in my boundaries. Because career was a thing. It was like, because I went through a recession, and I'm pretty honest about the last 2 years were terrible. It's starting to improve, but regardless, I had the first time in my career where I had a downturn and I had to deal with it. And, and I had questions in the bed, bedside talk, like, baby, can you see yourself doing this forever?
I love those conversations, by the way.
I feel like you're self-sabotaging yourself. And I'm like, this is me. I'm not going to give up. Like, this is my career. Like, the thing is that there's risk with every career. Like, sure, a doctor brings home the bacon, but I know someone that's married to a doctor that I talk to frequently that the doctor's never home because the doctor's always working. When the doctor comes home, doctor is trying to defrag with all the stuff that they see in the hospital and not paying attention to her. And then she is getting lonely and texting other dudes because she doesn't have that. And then, you have people that are married to police and firemen, right? Mm-hmm. And like before I was doing my creative thing, I was a manager for a furniture company and I had 50 employees. I never came home. Like, I would go to work for 12, 14, 16 hours a day because like if we had to do a promo, we had to change all the prices of all the furniture. So I had to be there to make sure everything looked good for the next day. That's not good either because that's how, my girlfriend at the time fell out of love with me because I was never home. Mm-hmm. So, there's always going to be trade-offs with the person that you're with. You just have to be willing, you have to love that person enough to be like, I don't care about your career. But I had to draw that out because if I give that, I had to draw that out on the boundaries sheet because I'm like, this is my life. I'm devoting the rest of my life to it. Because with all the negative things that people can point out about it, there's also a lot of positive things. And this is where I thrive the most, right? I can't see myself at a desk job, punching in numbers every day. I can't do it.
Man, I've done that kind of stuff and I've made very good money doing stuff like that, but I've never was happy. Never was happy. It didn't matter how much money I made or whatever. It was just that I wasn't doing what I wanted to do with my life. And it wasn't the thing that drove me the most and made me smile and all of that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I know so many people who are so talented, but they do jobs to pay the rent and they're miserable. They're miserable. They hate going to work, and that kind of stuff. And I just, I'm fortunate in this regard. I don't have a wife and kids. So I don't have, like my dad used to say, when you eat, your whole family eat. So I, in that regard, it's allowed me cushion to go for my pursuits and not have to, drag a wife and kids into whatever. So, if I was married and had kids, and I wasn't making money doing my pursuits, then I would have to seriously look at, I'm not gonna let my kids starve. So, I'm that dude, right? So, I don't know. It can be difficult. Now, I know, like, you don't work in your passion. I mean, as far as your creative pursuit, Shannon. But, I don't know if we've had this conversation, but I'm just gonna guess that in your perfect world, you would probably write full time, right?
No.
No? What would you do?
In a perfect world, Um, I'd probably be a therapist.
Really? That's interesting. Okay. Miss Therapist.
I like working with people. That's probably my biggest passion. I mean, writing is it's like secondary to breathing. So
Exactly.
regardless. But I like working with people.
I like working with people too. It depends on what we're working on, but I like working with people.
Inappropriate.
And also, I don't like being I'm definitely a chief, not an Indian. I have a hard time being an Indian.
How about a leader and not a follower? Because you're neither a chief nor an Indian.
That's a figure of speech. But
from 1920. But yes.
Look, man, I'm old school. Okay, I'm drinking a rum and coke, and I'm being old school right now. The old people out in the audience, they know what I'm talking about. But I don't know. Like, I've been accused of a lot of things,
like
fair and not. Okay, probably mostly fair, but about like your head being somewhere else, right? The thing that I accuse Ryan of, I know it because that's me. I can be that person sometimes. I'm better now. I really believe I'm better now. I'm more present.
You do it in your show. Like if I'm talking because I know I'm long-winded and stuff. I'll be talking. You're like, yep, yep. Yeah, that's right, Ryan. That's good. Yeah.
I felt hilarious. But I've been accused of that, and at first I never saw it.
Yeah.
I thought they were crazy. What are you talking about? Of course, I'm present. I'm here. We're watching The Notebook on the couch. No, I've never seen The Notebook. But you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's like, okay, so like going back to the idea of working like a straight job, right? I've done it. I don't have a desire to do it again. I don't have a desire to do it again. I really don't. It's gut wrenching sometimes, and I don't feel like I have as much needs as I did, or I thought I did when I was younger, right? I don't need a lot of toys to be as happy. Hey, what's up? Dana is in the chat room. Who was our guest last week. You should totally interview her, by the way, Ryan. So, but I don't need as much, right, to be happy. So that allows me to be more focused on what I want to do, right? And I love that, right? But I don't know if I'm who I am, who I want to be, if I don't have my pursuits, right?
Okay.
And that can be difficult. Now, going back to me dating a creative person, especially like actresses. If we have any actresses in the chat room.
Dating an actress?
Huh?
Are you currently dating
No.
an actress? No.
I'm saying if there's any actresses in the chat room, don't be offended. But I've had very bad experiences dating actresses for different reasons, and so I kind of get it sometimes. What if they drama queens? Hilarious. I know not everybody's the same, right? But I've had some interesting experiences, right? I've dated artists, right? I'm talking about like visual artists. And that was a bad match too, because like I said, you're the mister, or not the mistress. Guys are misters, right? If they're like the mistress, male version of a mistress is a mister, right?
No, you're all mistresses.
Oh, so he's a mistress too. So you feel like a sculptress. You feel like her paintings or her sculptures or whatever it is who she's in love with, and
Right.
you're just, you're something to do until she could be with her true love. you know so it's always about that the other dude, right? It's about whatever it is that she's doing, right? It's in talking about from a man's point of view, and I'm sure it's just like that for women as well. It's like that next painting or the next sculpture or the next performance or something like that, and then you're kind of like, I guess she can't watch The Notebook with her paintings, so I guess that's where you come in. You feel those other voids, I guess, and that some people are cool with that. Some people are the perfect creative person mate.
But I think it's more so about finding some balance and boundaries in things that you do with that person. And it's not necessarily competing with their craft or their art, because anyone that is in a relationship with me wouldn't have to compete. There's time and space and room for all of those things to exist without anyone feeling threatened by it. And if you're threatened by my writing, we might not need to be together.
What if somebody's just like, I love you, Shannon, but I ain't into that poetry stuff. So, I mean, good luck.
Might not need to be together.
Can you date someone who don't care about what you do in your creative pursuits? I mean, are you cool with that, Ryan?
Yes.
Okay.
I think, I don't know if we had this discussion, but yes, because my world is my world. I think that we grow, we adultify, and we become responsible. Because I have a kid. I am, I also have to make time for my girlfriend. I got to text her, because especially on this quarantine, I have to text her. I got to keep in thing. I think that we can go after our creative pursuits. It's just that there's this misconception in the artist's mind that, this is my life and everything's about it. And you know what? The creative process, it requires a lot of time and energy, preparation and whatnot. But you notice a lot of the bigger artists that are very successful have a team of people that work with them to help them with their craft. If you want to make it in art, it's 90% business and 10% talent. And I understand people, like, for me, I need, like, being an introvert, I need my space to read, to learn new things in order for my artistry skill to expand. But now, at the same time, I have to time block it, because if I just keep on doing the research and stuff like that, I'll be researching like which garbage cans to pick out of, so like, I honestly think that you can, but anyways, to answer the question.
I was like, please.
To answer the question, I like the separate worlds, because I can escape to real life with my significant other. I can kiss her, I can hug her, we can hold hands, we can walk down the street, we go for walks, walk our dog, all that stuff. I enjoy that. And it has nothing, and I don't want to talk after I'm done with all that mental, exploration. I don't want to talk about it. I especially don't want to talk about it with someone that doesn't understand. And I don't want to talk about it to be the only thing, because I'm already overstimulated with what I was working on. So I just like to, I like to escape. I like to have a balance in what my brain consumes.
Let me ask you this question, Shannon. You got a book signing. It's your big book. It's coming out. You have a book signing at Barnes and Nobles, right? They still got those, right? You have a big book signing at Barnes and Nobles. I'm like an art first, romance second. Yeah, it's antique. Okay. And your mate is like, it's not my scene. Would you be offended?
Again, we wouldn't be together. And I'm not one of those people who separates my love for my poetry in my relationship in terms of they don't have to understand iambic pentameter. They don't have to understand the difference between a free verse and a haiku. But knowing that this is my passion, this is my bread and butter, this is what I would do even if no one was watching or no one paid me, and not even to support it. You ain't got to understand, but support just
right
alone would be
That's
a problem.
bananas.
Because in the reverse of that, if there was something that my guy wanted to do or who he was or what his bread and butter is, I ain't gotta like it. But it's because he loves it and I love him that I'm present for him.
Yeah.
Period.
You know, it's kind of like if you're a pastor of your church is married but his wife goes to another church. You know, it'd be like that kind of weird. You know,
I've seen it done, and I'm not there are different strokes for different folks. There are people that go to church and their spouse don't, and so I'm not knocking any of those things. You know, those things are not one and the same. But I think if there's something that you are sold out for, I've been writing since I was 7. I got 30 years into writing at a minimum. And so at least you can do is say, I'm going to show up for my lady because I know that she is passionate about this thing. She has years and time and experience invested into this. And she doesn't just do it. I'm not on a New York bestsellers list. I do it because I have a love for word and rhyme. I do it because when I open my mouth and expel the words that come out of a poem, I want people, the audience, to feel something, to go home and inspire and do something for themselves that maybe their creative spoke to my creative through the process. So it's not even about, well, I didn't understand what the hell she said, but it sounded good. That's great. Just come support me because you love me.
Amen. And don't use little. That is the most annoying thing in the world.
That part.
When they go, oh yeah, Shannon, tell them about your little book that just came out. I hate that. Ryan, tell Tiffany about your little podcast that comes on. You know, oh my God, it's so annoying.
And sometimes it's not intentional, so you do have to correct yourself.
Right.
And I get that. But you have to learn to in an essence, cater to, not to make you less than a person, a punk or anything like that, but you have to give into the heart of your person's love language, and showing them love in things that they are expressive in is okay. Like that's a beautiful outpouring of how you feel about them. Sometimes it's just being sensitive to their needs. I just need you to show up right now. You ain't got to say nothing. You ain't got to do nothing. Just be present.
Yeah. And one more thing, and I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Let me do your thing, Ryan, or say what you need to say. But also, when it's your creative pursuit, it's who you are, right? And then sometimes people will be like, oh, so are you still a writer? And it's just like, yeah, I'm always be one. Like till I die. That's who I am.
Oh,
I may not always work at Blockbuster, but I'm always gonna be a writer.
Yeah, I'm still.
Oh, I can't write this right now. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh no, I was just saying, like, you know, I think being present is important. Like, don't be like, I think someone that I would pay $1 million for someone to be able to understand my brain. It's like an onion. I mean, there's so many layers to it, especially being an artist, because our whole life is about whether you are, you know, graphic designing, film producing, writing. There are layers, self-development, things that happen for you to use your medium as a form of expression. So I would pay $1 million for someone to understand me. You don't have to like what I'm doing, but you have to understand my process. And like Shannon said, show up. You know, if I have a gig or whatever, be present. If I have a live stream, stay off, because maybe I'll be talking about us. But but oh shoot. But you know, like show up where it's important. And I think that's what, like, also, like, I'm a sapiosexual, like, in terms of wanting someone that is smart, because I think someone that is smart will put the pieces together, because with art, there's a lot of mental models that you could use in architecture, in anything, really. Like, there are mental models that only a smart person would understand. They would be able to find the parallels. So they'll be able to understand, well, why you did that, or why you used this certain color, or why you put it there, you know, and having that exchange with someone that's more intelligent, as opposed to someone that's like, oh, that's just your art. Oh, I like it. I like the pink. I like what you did with the pink. You know, so, it does, you don't have to like what I do, but you have to be able to, for yourself, to want to know, you know what I mean?
Intellectual curiosity is what I always talk about.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are in relations selfishly, where they are so consumed with just the status quo of, oh, I got somebody, but they're not actually there for that somebody. And so you have to consider what it is that you're looking for, as well as what you offer or bring to the table. And I know we've had the conversation all the time, because your question usually is, well, what do women bring to the table? It's like, what do people bring to the table? If you are interested in me, what do I value? And what are you willing to be a part of? You know, I'm not asking you to become my subject matter or be my muse, but are you willing to be a part of it? So if I have a show, if I go on tour, if I have a book signing, if I'm asked to do a public speaking engagement, if I'm asked to attend a wedding because I wrote the vows for the couple, like, are you going to come with me? Now, do I need you to come to everything? Absolutely not. Like Ryan said, show up for what's important. And if that's my full-time career, no, you can attend every single thing that I do. But if there are engagements in our city and you're not doing anything that Friday night, and you know that this is important to me, yeah, I'm gonna need you to show up, just like you're gonna need me to show up in bed when we get home. Like, show up.
You know what's funny too about us creative folks is, so we date somebody who, you know, they have to us a boring job, right? So at the end of the day, they're going on about their boring ass job, and you're sitting there like, you know, like you want to slit your wrist, you know, you're like, you know, they're like, you know, whatever it may be. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to offend anybody, but what, you know what a boring job is. And so you're sitting there, and I had to get better at this, because I would be like, I don't care. like I would want to not talk about that job, you know. But you got to think about it like this. Hey, it's, especially this day and time, it's good to have a gig, whatever your gig is. So, but at the, you know, when I was younger though, I was definitely very judgmental and very elitist. I was. I'm not now. No, look, right now, if you got a gig, if you're mopping up a peeping booth, that's a gig. Okay.
As long as you're not an actress.
Right.
Right.
As long as you're not an actress in the peeping booth, then that might not be a good one. But but sometimes for, especially for us, right? When you know, they're talking about their day and their challenges, their work challenges, and you're just like, I want to slit my wrist. You do that all day long. That's what you do. You know.
Yeah.
Boring.
Yeah, I don't like this about work.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you know, but you know what's worse is hearing somebody complain about their crappy thing. So sometimes
work doesn't, whether it's art or not, it's just not a conversation that should be a part of the relationship too much. Like, only time maybe like I can talk about a client, like this client is supposed to pay me on time, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
You know, or you know, I'm listening, active listening to her, like, yeah, that girl's crazy, man. She should have sat in her cubicle. But like I think that the conversation for me about work always, it dries her up. You know, and I'm not really activated.
It dries her up.
Dries her up. I'm not talking about like, well, today I designed this graphic design, and then I went over to this thing.
Sexy.
Yeah,
Make
like she wanted to talk about astrology. Like, baby, you know, like I'm a Sagittarius. I do. I think there's just different conversations that can be had with couples, and it doesn't have to be around work. If work is the pinnacle of your existence, then you know you have relationship problems. You know,
Yeah.
people need to learn to separate the two.
So all right, so I know this person, right? She's in her mid to late 40s, and she met this guy who's like in his early 20s.
Oh,
And he was like a what do you call those people who are way before their time? Brain fart.
old soul.
No, like when you're like Doogie Howser, like
Baby G.
something like yeah, like he was like he graduated from high school at like 14 or something, and graduated from college before he was 20 or something, and then NASA wanted him, and he was like a rocket science savant. Yeah, right. He was like a prodigy. Thank you. He was a prodigy. He was like a rocket scientist, like at 20. You know, he was like really brilliant, right? So she was like really into how smart this guy is, and he had like a career about the, you know, he was like dude in Good Will Hunting at the end of the movie, right? Like where everybody wanted him. So she got his number, right? So they lived in different states. So they would video chat, right? And she's like all into NASA and nuclear science and all of this stuff. So she tells me, she goes, I can't figure this dude out. This guy's so brilliant, and all he wants to talk about are my breasts. And I'm like, he talks about rocket science at his, all day long. Now he just wants to talk about your titties. It's like, yeah, no. Well, you think he wants to talk about, complex equations?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like, I said, just show him your titties. He'll be fine. I said, that makes perfect sense. Because she was like so disappointed. She thought he was going to, they were going to have these fascinating conversations about theories and all of this. And he's just like, what kind of bra you have? Like that kind of stuff. Because he was, obviously a little geeky. But, yeah. So, but, yeah, you don't want to talk about your if that's what you do all day, that you don't want to talk about that.
I sure don't.
Right.
It is, and what turns me on about my work, it's not what turns everybody else on. And I'm a little bit extra geeky too. Like, I'm geeky about my CMOS. I'm geeky about a lot of things that general public, and I don't know why I do this. Is the more I get older, as I age, the more like I want to learn about everything. And I start putting myself in like a box that you can't break through, because it's just like I have no commonality with everyone around me. So it's up to me as the intellectual to be able to relate and to listen to what everybody else has to say. I just can't talk about the stuff that I like because it goes over people's heads, right? So it's better not to have that dry conversation. And, you always wish, I think people that are, writers or whomever, we wish to find someone that could just be the opposite of us, but have similarity, like maybe like a writer, but that fills in the gaps, not opposite, but someone that could fill the gap intellectually, right? And some people are able to find that person, but, you have to think. Artists there's a lot. I mean, maybe there are a lot of artists, but they're like, to find that perfect match is pretty far in between. Like you're not going to find that person. So there's always going to be that issue of compatibility. So that's why I think it's up to the artist to be able to escape out of their world and be normal, be a human being. Because, a lot of people that even get in a relationship because you are an artist, and I said it in the chat, like they become fans. They're fans at the beginning, but after a while, that's just feeding into an ego. you want to separate that and have them find out what type of person you really are. Like I have a mentor who was a blues musician. He was my karate teacher and whatnot. But going to his house and he's watching TV, he's watching wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time, I'm like, damn, like a karate master, is watching wrestling. Like for me, it threw me off guard for a second, but to realize that he's just a man. He's not this superhuman person that I always looked at him as. So I mean, artists are humans too. Some of them like ribs, and some of them like to go hiking. Some of them like different things, and I think that it's up to the artist to not get so wrapped up in the world, but to come down to life and relate to other people. Because you know what? That's how you sell art. When you're friendly and you're friends and you're making friends and you're social and you have a different life outside of the things that you do, right? People don't like, guys and girls that are wrapped up.
Sam Teague says, I'm okay with casual dating. Some people aren't meant for the family life thing, and I'm one of them. I love my art and freedom. Yeah. A lot of artists I know, they love their freedom more than anything. So it makes them not great art. Make them not great mates. And so I've seen people who lived great lives with, great artists, and I've seen the other opposite as well. So it just depends. I guess you got to find that right person, that person that compliments you in such a beautiful way. I know because I grew up in an artistic family, and I know so many master artists, and the ones that are married and have wonderful relationships. I could say, I'm trying to think, is there a pattern? And I don't know if there's a necessarily pattern. The ones that's been married like a long time, and they seem happy and content. I know some where you never see their wife at all. You almost forget he's married, And then I see the ones where the wife is there all the time, helping him lug his paintings around and stuff like that. That's the kind of one I like. Yeah. I like that. I like, how they work together, and they have that, they're freaking frack, and they, I've known quite a bit of relationships like that. And so it just depends on the situation though. But to me, that is awesome to share something that you love so much with the person that you're with. Absolutely. And they be there for you like that. I mean, it's great, So I don't know. So Shannon,
can they?
Would you say that a life with Shannon would be a difficult one? Being that someone who goes after her pursuits and stuff like that, or do you find good? Do you think you would find good balance?
I think it would be good balance. I mean, I usually get all the passionate, non-negotiable, deal breaker type questions out of the way from jump. I mean, because there are things that you just need to know about people. Of course, some people lie because sometimes we date representatives before we meet real people. But I don't think it would be terribly difficult. I mean, I'm a writer. I can write anywhere. I mean, I wake up in the morning and type something on the computer and post it. Done. It's really simple. So I'm not one of those people that we sitting at dinner and we trying to have a conversation. I'm like, oh, I just got inspired. Be quiet. Let me finish this poem. Not one of those people.
Now I'm gonna tell you something a lot of creatives don't like, and I want to get your opinion on it. Is when you have a mate who is around you for a while, kind of sees what you do, and then they have all these bad ideas they want to give you.
Yeah.
It's like, what you should do. And it's like, when you hear that, what you should do, you're like, I know I'm about to hear it, as a screenwriter. Oh man. Like to get like a lot of pitches that are, and it's almost never good. Mm-hmm. It's almost never good. It's always a terrible idea. Welcome, Steph, in the chat room, and we have Marisa as well. Andrea is here too.
Hey.
So as a screenwriter, right, you get a lot of bad pitches.
Oh yeah.
Right, and it's not even just the people you date. You get pitches from a lot of, and it's always dumb, or it's something that it's like something you've seen, and it's just like that was on Have and Have Nots. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's your mate and they're really excited about the pitch because they think it's so brilliant. They think it's brilliant, and you're just like, no, it's not. So what I do is I don't. Hey, Sybil too is in the room as well. I don't shoot it down anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just be like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I have to think about that, and then I just don't.
I just say I don't really have people commenting as much on poetry or trying to give ideas for poetry. Now, I have people that try to proposition me though, like, oh, can you help me with this writing assignment, or can you make some for my mom? Like, sure, doesn't cost you. Done doing stuff for free.
I propositioned you before about help with that.
I'm still waiting for you to run me some coins.
Bitcoin. Sam says normally it doesn't work for creators. We need that excitement, that inspiration, that new, that wow. Yep, that's for sure. Yeah, it is something though when you do it, and it'd be so excited too. They just tell you something that they swear. But here's the problem too though. Every once in a while, they'll give you an idea that's very similar to something you're doing already. Mm-hmm. And I've learned to make sure as best you can, because if you do that thing, then they'll swear you stole it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll be like, "You're doing my thing. I want, I want 50%."
To divorce court, to be like, "Well, I inspired half the work."
Right. One of my favorite stories. One of my favorite stories I ever heard. And I don't remember the group or the song. So if you know this story, you can fill in the blank for me. So apparently some musician, big time musician, went on a road trip with his girlfriend, mm-hmm. and she was driving, and they got far from home, and they got in an argument, and she left him by the side of the road. Mm-hmm. So this artist, if you guys know the song or the artist, please let me know. So this artist wrote a song about it, and it was like a big hit, like a huge hit song. And so they broke up too. That obviously that was something that they broke up over, right? Mm-hmm. So when he wrote this hit song about her leaving him on the side of the road and and all of this stuff, she sued him because she said, if I never did that fucked up shit leaving you on the side of the road, you wouldn't have had a song to do it. And I believe she won too by that. Which ain't that cold-blooded, by the way? Like
cold-blooded.
I know, right? It's like if I never talked you in the face, you wouldn't, and you didn't write that poem about that black eye gave you, you wouldn't have been able to do it. But yeah.
No, thank you.
Hit the Road Jack. I don't think that was the song. I think it was more of like a rock song or something like that. But yeah, that's cold. Oh man. So any last thoughts about dating a creative person?
Stay away
from the
I'm joking. Stay away from creatives. No.
Yeah. I know. I don't know. There's a creative person in this room right now with me. You definitely need to stay away from her. She got her headphones on. She can't hear me.
Don't do me off shit like that. Love them. Don't grow. Don't criticize them. They criticize themselves all day anyway. And support them. Show up. Then my final word.
Show up. Definitely show up. I think the worst thing a person can do is try to separate a creator from his or her art. It will never end well. Not at all. That's from Sam Teague. What's up, Sam? You definitely got to chat, my brother. All right, so Ryan, how can we get you in social media and all that good stuff?
You can find me at Hustle Zone and Hustle Zone TV, and yeah, that's it. Hustle Zone and Hustle Zone TV on Instagram.
All right, and when is your next show?
We're working on it. We have everyone's doing StreamYard right now, so we are. I've invested in some time in equipment software so that we can make our stuff look a little bit unique. Because everybody keeps on coming onto our show and then starting their StreamYards after they come onto the show. I'm like, so I'm like wondering where are my people? And they're too busy doing another show. So we're creating. I bought Wirecast, so I'm trying to get. We're trying to we want to upgrade the level of the podcast so we can still remain relevant in the scene.
I love you guys' show, and you guys got me once when I guess I was drinking on this show, and I was a little sauce. So I think I probably overshared on y'all's show. So, but I'm not gonna tell you what show that was, so yeah, I won't be able to find it. But
I know what show it is.
So, but I know I overshared a little too much.
You did.
But it's all good. And I got a bone to pick with Shannon before I ask her to say what her stuff is.
Right.
The other night, Shannon had me up all night making emojis to movies. It was a lot of fun.
Sir, I was up with you, so I was up 3 hours past your time. I was up at till 2:30. You were only.
I must have made like a million emojis.
Hush.
Yeah,
I still had to do work.
Yeah, it was. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
That post hit 1,000 comments. Thank you.
I am not surprised. I am not surprised. I might have added 100 of them myself. So, but no, it was a lot of fun though. No, I really enjoyed it. So
we had a good time.
It was a lot of fun.
We went into day 3. Well,
Wow.
We didn't go far.
I've definitely shared it to a lot of people, and they love it as well. So it's a lot of fun.
It was a good time.
So we got to do some kind of game or something.
I have to come up with another one. Like have quarantine
game or something.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Anybody download the app House Party?
Oh yeah. That actually was kind of yeah. Okay, so just before Shannon does her thing, we're still gonna be on. We're gonna be doing the post show. All right, so Shannon, how can we get you social media and all that good stuff?
Instagram, I would say Twitter, but don't really follow me on Twitter because I'm not on there. So Instagram and Facebook at Shannon Ford, like the president, - Jefferson, like the president. And you can cash at me at SheMeHer82 because we are in a quarantine and us essential workers need lunch. Thank you. How can we follow you on social media, Kente?
As Kente F on Twitter, Kente Ferguson on Instagram. Of course, the website is indyradio.org. That's INDY radio.org. All right. So, of course, we'll be back with our new episode. We stay on the Get Vocal. We're gonna keep this bad boy going.
You didn't comment on my earrings.
Your earrings are fantastic, by the way.
Thank